All right, let's jump right in. If you're a civil engineering student staring down an exam, you know that compass surveying questions can be seriously tricky. Well, that's exactly why we put this together. We're going to build you understanding from the ground up, starting with the absolute basics of bearings, and then we'll get into the real-world errors that trip so many people up. By the end of this, you're going to feel a whole lot more confident.
So here's our roadmap. First, we're going to nail down the language of surveying, bearings. Then, we'll tackle the huge difference between true north and magnetic north and find out why your compass reading is basically a moving target. After that, we get really practical, showing you how to find and fix errors caused by things in your immediate surroundings. And we'll wrap it all up with a couple of other key angles you definitely need to know. Let's get started.
Okay, first things first. Before we can do anything else, we have to get the fundamentals right. In compass surveying, pretty much everything boils down to bearings. These are the angles that tell you where you're going, sure, but more importantly, they're how you check if your work is even accurate in the first place.
Let's start with the Fore Bearing, or FB. Just think of this as your forward-looking measurement. You're standing at one point, let's call it Station A, and you're aiming your compass at the next point, Station B. That reading you take, that's the Fore Bearing. It's what sets the direction for your whole survey.
So what's a back bearing, or BB? Well, this is your reality check. After you've taken your reading at Station A, you physically move to Station B. From there, you turn around and you look back at Station A. That measurement is your back bearing. It's looking in the exact opposite direction, and it is absolutely essential for making sure you didn't mess up.
And here it is. This is the golden rule. If there's one thing you take away today, let it be this. The difference between the Fore Bearing and the back bearing of the very same line has to be exactly 180 degrees. Not close to it, not 179.9, exactly 180. If it's not, you know right away that you've got an error somewhere. It's your #1 quality control check.
And the math for this is just beautiful in its simplicity. If your Fore Bearing is under 180 degrees, you just add 180 to get the back bearing. And if your Fore Bearing is over 180, you just subtract 180. That is it. You will be using this calculation over and over, so you gotta have it memorized.
Now, here's a pro tip, and this comes straight from the source material. Yeah, the formulas are simple and they work, but the experts strongly recommend you always draw a quick sketch before you do the math. It just helps you see the angle to visualize what you're doing, and it can stop you from making a simple mistake that costs you a ton of marks. It's a great habit to get into.
Okay, so everything we've talked about so far assumes we're in a perfect world. But in the real world, the most important tool we have, the magnetic compass, doesn't actually point where we think it does. We have to talk about the difference between the north on a map and the north your compass needle is being pulled towards. And that brings us to a huge concept called magnetic declination.
And that right there is the million-dollar question. See, true north is a fixed geographic point. It's the actual North Pole. But your compass needle, it's being pulled by the magnetic North Pole, which is in a totally different spot, and it's always on the move. And it's that difference that we have to account for.
So what is magnetic declination really? It's simple. At any spot on Earth, it's just the angle between two lines. One line pointing to true north, and another line pointing where your compass needle says north is, or magnetic north. If you don't know that angle, you can't accurately translate what you see in the field onto a proper map.
And there are two ways this can go. On the one hand, you have eastern declination. That's when magnetic north is to the east of true north. To get your true bearing, as the formula shows, you add the declination to your compass reading. On the other hand, if magnetic north is to the west of true north, that's western declination, and in that case, you subtract it. Simple as that. Add for east, subtract for west.
Now, just when you thought you had it all figured out, here's the next layer. That magnetic declination we just talked about, it's not some fixed number you can just look up once. Oh no, it is constantly changing. It's a moving target, and we need to understand the forces that are pushing it around. So you need to know about 4 main types of these variations. We've got secular, annual, diurnal, and the really fun one, irregular. Each of these is caused by something different, and they all operate on different timelines, which makes the Earth's magnetic field a pretty complicated thing to work with.
Let's break this down. Secular variation is the slow, long-term drift that happens over decades. Then you have annual and diurnal variations, which are smaller, more predictable cycles caused by the Earth orbiting the Sun and spinning on its axis. But then, look at that last one, irregular variation. This is the wild card. It's caused by things like solar flares or even earthquakes, and it can throw your compass off by up to 2 whole degrees with no warning.
So, as if the Earth's constantly shifting magnetic field wasn't enough to worry about, there's another major source of error. And this one is much, much closer to home. It's called local attraction, and it's all about the stuff that's right there next to you when you're taking a measurement.
Local attraction is exactly what it sounds like. You set up your compass, but you're a little too close to some power lines, a steel fence, or maybe even the truck you parked nearby. The magnetic fields from those objects can literally pull your compass needle away from magnetic north, messing up your readings without you even realizing it.
So how do you find it? Guess what? We go right back to our golden rule. You take your fore bearing and your back bearing for a line and you calculate the difference. If it's not exactly 180 degrees, you know that at least one of your setup points is being affected by local attraction. But if it is 180 on the dot, you can be pretty sure that those 2 spots are clean. It's a super practical and powerful diagnostic tool.
Okay, to wrap things up, let's quickly touch on 2 other important angles you're going to run into. These aren't about finding north, but they're still a critical part of the surveying puzzle.
First up is the included angle. As you move along your survey from one line to the next, this is the angle you measure inside the shape you're making. It's measured clockwise from the line you just came from to the new line you're about to measure. Why bother? Well, if you're surveying a closed loop, like a property line, all of those inside angles have to add up to a specific number. It's another amazing mathematical check on your overall accuracy.
And finally, the angle of dip. This one's pretty cool. We talked about declination, which is the compass needle's horizontal error. Well, dip is the vertical error. It's the angle the needle tries to dip down towards the ground. Right at the equator, the needle lays flat, so the dip is 0. But as you get closer to the magnetic poles, the needle wants to point straight down into the Earth, giving you a dip of 90 degrees.
And that brings us to our final thought for the day. We've seen how a simple compass reading gets pulled around by the Earth's magnetic field, how that field changes over time, and how it can be distorted by a nearby chunk of metal. So it leaves us with this big question. With all these variables pulling in different directions, how is it even possible for a surveyor to achieve true precision? The answer, of course, is by knowing and accounting for every single concept we've covered today. Thanks for tuning in.